Hey, welcome back, Phenomenons. This is Frank. So listen, in this video, I want to center it around a couple requests with school being back in session, right? There's some requests in generating kind of relaxing study music, work from home music, right? Kind of just relaxing, chill music. Well, we're going to tackle that today. Now, everybody defines study music very differently. So I'm going to actually pick kind of a genre, which is kind of more ambient, okay? Kind of a feel. Now, if you've ever generated music with ambient, kind of a feel or texture, right? It typically kind of stays flat, all right? And what I like to call predictable. And so what we're gonna do here is try to aim for more unpredictable, right? I want this more like a roller coaster ride where not every up and down is the same, not every turn is the same, not every loop is the same, right? And so we're gonna do that by just kind of changing up the prompt, adding a little bit of texture, and we'll touch on that here in just a bit. So we're gonna jump right in and get started. Now, again, you know the routine, right? At the top of the video, I have some comments. One is pinned from me, kind of just sharing a link that'll get you started with your Google account, register, and you can meet me right back here after you get some, utilize some of those free credits. All right, so here we are. Now, I also got videos on how to use some of these bells and whistles that you're gonna see here. We're not gonna touch on that. What I decided to do was just start with an empty workspace, okay? And if I feel like, hey, I want to add more and kind of play around with some of these bells and whistles, well, I'll create videos utilizing the same exact songs that we generate in here. All right, so up at the very top, we've got simple, we got custom, and we also have the version that you can be using. If you're on a free plan, the max version you can use is 3.5, which is very limited, okay? So as I go through here using version 4.5 plus, you're gonna, I'll speak to the differences on what you're probably experiencing or seeing versus what you're actually seeing on your actual screen, all right? Now, simple, forget about it. Don't even learn it. You want more control over the music you generate? Use custom. Start there. It's a perfect starting point, okay? So we're gonna start with 4.5, just as I mentioned. We're not gonna touch any of these bells and whistles in this video. Right down here, I'm gonna just kind of go through what it is that we're gonna fill in. Now, I already have some prompts already set. I'm gonna plug them in here and then we're gonna kind of take a look at them. All right, so here we have lyrics, okay? You can go in and write lyrics right in here. Now this is again an instrumental, so we don't need lyrics, but because we wanna have more control over the music we generate, we're gonna still use the lyrics section, okay? Now I've got a video that talks about the use of brackets and parentheses, and I'll try to have that kind of floating up at the very top. When you get a chance after this video, go watch that one, okay? It's gonna kind of give you the basics on understanding on exactly that, having more control over the music you generate, okay? And we're gonna use some of that here today. All right, now, if I go right down here, we have the option to toggle on instrumental. If I toggle the switch to instrumental, you're gonna notice that the lyrics section just moves, it disappears, right? Well, why do you need it, right? You don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that back off so that we keep lyrics on, all right? Then down here, you have AI. You can create lyrics by line or actually create a full song using AI, right? Again, this is under 4.5 or a paid plan. And then right down here is the actual style of music that you're gonna be tackling. As I mentioned, we're gonna be centering around kind of an ambient kind of a feel. And we'll get back to this here in just a bit. Now, let's say, for example, this is where you're gonna need something like ChatGPT, right? A prompt generator, because you know that anytime you deal with AI, right, the better the prompt, right? The more context that you have, the more description, the better the output. It's the same thing with music, okay? Now, the one thing, now I told you I would point things out. Right here on 3.5, you're gonna be limited to 200 characters, whereas opposed to the Pro plan, which is right now $10 a month, okay? At the time that I recorded this video, you're gonna have, I think it's about 1,000 characters that you can place in here, okay? Big difference, okay? In addition to that, if I wanted to create a song, I'd have to use ChatGPT, right, to generate something like ChatGPT or whatever to kind of get the perfect prompt, especially if you're limited to 200 characters, right? So let's just say, for example, I wanted to create a orchestrated strings instrumental, okay? Now, I've got 3 keywords here. With a paid plan, you got this magic wand. So if I click on that magic wand, remember we talked about the more context you have, the more details, right? The better the output. So we already have this already working for us, just based off of three words or 3 keywords, right? It kind of put a little bit more emphasis on the actual prompt, okay? Now, we're not gonna utilize that, but I just wanted to showcase kind of the difference again between a pro plan and a free plan. Then down here, right, you have advanced options. This is gonna look totally different for you if you're on a free plan. You're gonna have the excluded styles where you'll actually go in and exclude what you don't want to hear inside the music that you're generating. Here you pick the vocal gender, male or female. Now, yes, we're creating an instrumental, so we don't need to select one, but I am doing a little bit different where I'm using kind of vocals as kind of sounds. Okay, you know, those actual instrumentals, right? So I am going to go ahead and select female. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes when you do instrumentals, you will have some vocals kind of show up. And well, if you want to really, if you take that in consideration, well, then you'll just maybe pick one that works best for you. I like to always go with female vocals. And then you have these sliders here. You won't see that in your free plan, right? I didn't like these at first. Now I love them because, again, it just gives you more control over the music you generate. And I highly recommend that you just play around with these once you do upgrade, okay? Because these can be pretty cool. Now, weirdness. I'm just going to go with the simple rule of thumb on my own personal experience. And I have found that anytime I have lyrics, right, I don't go higher than 30% when it comes to weirdness. It does also play an important role on the genre or the category of music that you're actually creating music with. Okay, so some genres you can actually go a little bit higher, right? Or some genres you have to go a lot lower. Like, for example, country, right? You can't go really, at least in my opinion, you can't go like over 30 over in country. Kind of really just depends. That's just, again, my own personal experience. And then you have the style influence slider. Okay, the best way to kind of explain this is based off of your music style that you have here. What style of influence do you want to come from that? Okay, so if I were to go in here and say, hey, okay, I want, you know, let's shoot for 80. And then this one, I'm going to go right down here to 20. Okay, just as an idea. And then, of course, down here, you have your song title, and then you have your workspace. So again, my workspace, if you go in and create a workspace up here, it's going to automatically default right here. But you can generate music inside here and then send it to a totally different workspace so that music generation doesn't show up in this folder. Okay, just as an idea. And then, of course, down here, you've got this little plus symbol where you have prompts. You can actually add any save prompts that you have in here, as well as add personas. We won't be utilizing that today. We're going to just kind of center it to just kind of keep it basic. Now, what I want to do is I want to go right back up here. I want to fill in these areas. Okay, so I've got some pre-work already set. And as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and start with the actual song title. Let me go back to the very bottom. Okay, and I'm going to just paste that in here. Okay, so we have Evolving Waves Mix. This is kind of like I told you, I have a little bit kind of a textures on how it's going, not just staying at one level. Okay, so it's called Neon Drift. Okay, and then let's go right back up to the very top. Let's plug in our lyrics. So for our lyrics, let's go in and paste right here. Okay, and I'll talk about this here in just a bit, right? You're seeing already some lyrics already show up, right? But the way I'm utilizing them is kind of more so like sounds, kind of, sort of, all right? Now, styles. So if I go right here to music style, I'm going to plug that in, hit Control V, right? I'm going to go right back down here, excluded styles. I've got that already set. And this we can talk about real quick. So I don't want any rock, country, heavy drums, sharp plucks, no EDM, hard rock, just as I mentioned, okay? And then the vocal gender, yes, I want to keep it at female, right? As you can see, I do have what seems like lyrics, even if it's coming across as sounds. I want that to come across female. And then, of course, I have the weirdness sliders at 30%, then 85%. So let's bump this up here, okay, 30%. And we're going to bump this one up to about 85%, all right? So now we have everything filled out. So now what I want to show you is the lyrics area. Again, focusing kind of on the instrumental feel, right? I've got a video up at the very top right here that hopefully I'll have show up for you that is centered around, again, brackets and parentheses, and utilize them as a good start in control over the music that you're generating. And you'll use those parentheses and the brackets right here inside the lyrics, okay? Now, for example, if I go up to the very top, I have soft, airy synths fade in with distant ocean waves. Now, you might be thinking, ocean waves, what? It does this kind of sounds? Well, there's instruments that actually create these sounds, right? So you can actually go in here and get pretty creative. Same thing with rain and all of that good jazz, right? You can get this. Now, think about how that's going to start and what that's going to sound like. Now, each one of these, you typically would have a verse, right? Whereas opposed to I have verse 1, and then I have, let me just put a little spacing here. I have same thing, a sense of direction. Right? As a producer or co-producer of this actual song, you want to, again, give you more control over the music that you generate. So I'm saying, hey, I want gentle electric piano glides over deep pads, minimal textures, okay? Minimal textures, so we should still kind of remain kind of steady, the same, right? And then we have verse 2, shimmering bells enter. So now you have kind of a different kind of a feel entering, right, the scene. Slow swells of reverse piano, okay, keep going. Then we have the bridge, layers thin to just pads plus rain. Heartbeat kick softly returns, okay? And then we have gradual stereo widening, soft chimes drifting in and out. Now, are we going to hear all this? You know, probably not. What these prompts here, right, this control and this producer part of this is basically saying, hey, this is what we want. And it's going to try its best to give it to you. It may take a couple of variations or generations, right, in order to start hearing that. Right? But just know that this is what it's all about. It's all about having more control over the music that you're generating by utilizing the brackets, okay? Properly utilizing them, okay? And sometimes even when this is again through my own just personal experience, right? Not the pro or whatever. I'm just telling you what I have kind of been studying with regards to, like, you know, music and the difference of music and controlling it. This is why I only use custom, okay? It gives you more control here. Now, just imagine if we didn't have this, we would be trying to just roll the dice in Vegas, right? And hopefully we don't get snake eyes. And this is what would be kind of pushing that. Now, that's it. That's kind of it. So when it comes to the music style, let me show you the music style. So evolving ambient soundscape, 60 beats per minute is what we want to kind of stay at, with lush synth pads, soft electronic piano, shimmering bell tones, and deep sub bass. Dynamic layering shifts every 30 to 60 seconds. Now I have kind of a time frame. What I have found in my own personal experience too is when you add time frames, don't put it into here and expect it to kind of be like, hey, right at the 50-second mark, bam, this is what should be happening. Kind of put it in here, kind of the overall kind of a notes, right, kind of a deal. And it'll do a better job for you when you put it in here. At least that's what's been my own personal experience, right? So we have gentle background textures of rain, ocean swells, and reverse piano notes add subtle unpredictability. Okay, this is the key word. Remember, I utilized that at the beginning of the actual video. I wanted music that sounded unpredictable. Whenever you just say, hey, I want an ambient song or whatever, it kind of keeps that kind of monotone, adds a little bit of, it goes from slow to slower back to slow, right? Or as opposed to, I want a little bit kind of uptick in beat, okay? Now, again, this is just kind of an idea, right, to kind of play around with. And just know that the style, the context inside the style, and having just 200 characters almost just doesn't seem realistic when you're trying to really aim for the music that you're trying to create, okay? So just know that your styles, the verbiage that you have in here is actually pulled and is being pulled by the use of your brackets, okay? You saw that some of the same textures and words, right, are actually being pulled from the actual music style. And this is why it's so important how each of these sections kind of talk to each other. So you have your lyric section kind of communicating from your style section, right? And then you also have these areas right here kind of communicating with the different area, right? Kind of adding more flexibility, okay? And then, of course, you have, let's see, what else? Yeah, I think that's kind of it. I think I kind of covered all of that and how that all works, okay? And so, the style of influence. So remember, your style influence is also saying, hey, what percentage of this that you want in here, right? And so again, hey, I'm leaving Suno with like 15% to kind of come up and do its part, right? And so this is, again, just what I'm utilizing. So you kind of see in the words of how you should expect to kind of see the actual, the beats or the instruments fluctuate, all right? So now, right here, I have 540 credits. My goodness, I've been creating some music. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select create. It should drop down to 530, right? So it's going to cost me 10 credits to give you two different variations. And so here they are. So I am going to press play here, just a second. All right, so the timestamp doesn't show completely as to how long the actual song is, and what that means is it's still generating. But we've got the dot, we've got the actual thumbnail ready, so we're ready to listen. So let's listen to the first one. Here we go. All right, so we went about a minute there, and you could see the different variations, right? It doesn't just continue on flat. You had a little bit of the piano kind of going along, then the ambience kind of just jumping right in. And again, you kind of had a little bit of different textures. Is it probably, could we maybe add more variation to that? We definitely can. And this is part of it, where you see this show up is the second variation. So we'll see what this one sounds like, and we will take it from there. All right, so let's have a listen. All right, so that gives you a good idea too. This one, I think, kind of went and did more of what I was maybe looking for, right? And let me kind of just fast forward a little bit and see if it's any different from like the beginning part. And let's hit play. As you notice, the actual generated music here is standing at 4 minutes and 21 seconds. And then this one here is 5 minutes and 26 seconds. That's a lot of music, right, being generated with the prompt that I actually showed you. So hopefully there's more kind of textures as we kind of fast forward that here a little bit. So let's have a listen. So there is, and let me tell you another thing too. God, the kind of the thump and the bass here sounds like really amazing, the way it's coming through. So just kind of think of this too. Anytime that you're generating this style of music or any kind of music, get you some earbuds or some headphones and kind of listen, because I always say that any music that's being generated is always draft mode. Always think of it as draft. Don't ever like generate something and say, oh man, I'm going to make that into kind of a final song or what have you, because there's so much bells and whistles and different tools that you can utilize to really maximize, right, the end result. Okay. And so whenever you have like headphones or earbuds, you could definitely hear like the imperfections, kind of the overlap, things that you can easily clean up and clear up. So just some things to consider. So with that, hey, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, leave a comment down below, like this video, also subscribe, and don't forget to hit that subscribe, the bell icon, right? So that anytime I'm playing around like I am today, you're the first to know about it. I'm Frank with the Phenomenon. Hey, I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one.